The voice the world couldn't ignore. In January 2024, during the war in Gaza, the voice of a little girl echoed through emergency phone lines and across the internet. Her name was Hind Rajab. She was only 5 years old.
Trapped inside a car, surrounded by death, she begged rescuers to come save her. Hours later, silence followed.
Days later, the world would discover what happened to her. This is not just the story of one child. It is the story of fear, war, helplessness, controversy, investigation, and the question that still haunts millions of people. Around the world, could Hind Rajab have been saved? The story begins in Gaza City on January 29th, 2024.
At that time, intense fighting was taking place in several neighborhoods across Gaza. Entire streets had become battle zones.
Civilians were attempting to flee areas under heavy bombardment and military operations. One of those neighborhoods was Tel Al-Hawa. Hind Rajab and several members of her family were trying to escape the area in a black Kia vehicle.
Be careful, the road is very bad here.
We must hurry, there is no time.
As fighting intensified nearby, at some point during the journey, the vehicle came under gunfire. Exactly what happened became disputed.
What happened in those moments became one of the most investigated parts of the case. But bullets tore through the car. Hind's relatives were killed. Her 15-year-old cousin, Layan Hamada, managed to contact the Palestinian Red Crescent Society dispatchers.
During the call, she reportedly told dispatchers that there was a tank nearby and that they were being fired upon. Moments later, the sound of gunfire was heard over the phone, then screams, then silence. After the line disconnected, workers called back. This time, a small voice answered the phone. It was Hind Rajab. The child told dispatchers that everyone in the car was dead.
She was alone, terrified, surrounded by bodies. Her voice sounded weak and frightened, according to released recordings.
She repeatedly begged rescuers to come save her. She said she was scared. She asked operators not to leave her alone. Those recordings would later spread across social media and news broadcasts, turning Hind into a recognizable civilian victim of the war.
For hours, dispatchers stayed on the phone with her. Emergency responders attempted to coordinate a rescue mission.
According to multiple reports, clearance was eventually granted for an ambulance team to enter the area and retrieve the child. Two paramedics, Yusuf Zaino and Ahmed Al-Madhoun, were sent toward the location. They drove an ambulance clearly marked as medical. Then contact with them was lost. And then, nothing. For days, the fate of Hind Rajab remained unknown. Around the world, people followed the story anxiously. Many hoped she had somehow survived. Social media users shared her image. Activists demanded answers. Human rights organizations called for investigations. But inside Gaza, recovery operations were extremely dangerous.
Due to ongoing fighting, the area where the car was located remained inaccessible for several days. Nearly 2 weeks later,
rescue workers finally reached the scene. What they found shocked the world. Hind Rajab's body was discovered inside the vehicle. Her body was found alongside several dead members of her family. Nearby, the destroyed ambulance sent to rescue her was found.
The two paramedics inside were dead. Images released afterward showed the family car riddled with bullet holes.
The ambulance had also been heavily damaged. The discovery intensified international outrage and immediately raised questions about what happened. Soon after the bodies were recovered, investigations began appearing from journalists, researchers, and forensic analysts. One was from Al Jazeera. The research group Forensic Architecture also investigated. Using satellite imagery, audio analysis, and battlefield mapping, they reconstructed her final hours.
According to their findings, Israeli tanks were allegedly present near the vehicle during the incident. Investigators claimed evidence suggested close-range fire.
They also concluded that the ambulance sent to rescue Hind was likely struck while approaching the scene. The Israeli military denied responsibility and stated that their forces were not in the area at the time. However, subsequent investigative reports challenged those statements. The controversy surrounding conflicting narratives turned the case into an international symbol.
It became a symbol of the wider debate surrounding civilian deaths and accountability during wartime. Hind's story became larger than a headline.
Demonstrations and vigils were held in different countries. Her name appeared on protest signs, murals, speeches, and university demonstrations. For many people, she became a symbol of children trapped in war zones. Others demanded independent international investigations.
Called for probes into attacks on civilians and medical personnel. The emotional impact of the recordings played a major role.
Millions of people listened to the audio of a frightened child pleading for rescue while trapped in a battlefield. Those recordings sparked emotional reactions. Some users described the calls as among the most haunting audio recordings to emerge from Gaza.
Online discussions, documentaries, podcasts, and forums repeatedly revisited the case, debating responsibility and discussing the laws of war.
In 2025, a Belgium-based organization called the Hind Rajab Foundation gained international attention. The foundation was named after the child. Its mission was to pursue legal accountability for alleged war crimes connected to the case and other incidents involving civilians.
The organization filed legal complaints connected to military personnel and sought investigations through international legal institutions.
The story also entered film and media culture. In 2025, a docudrama film titled The Voice of Hind Rajab was released.
The film dramatized the emergency calls and rescue attempts. Multiple filmmakers revisited the timeline, trying to understand how she became trapped.
They sought to understand how she was caught in one of the deadliest conflicts. But beyond investigations, one fact remained unforgettable.
A child spent hours trapped in fear, asking adults to save her. The case reignited conversations about civilian protection.
Under international humanitarian law, civilians and medical workers are protected during war. Human rights experts and legal analysts argued the case. They argued that if evidence of the attack on the car and ambulance were confirmed, it could potentially constitute a war crime.
Others argued that the chaos of urban warfare makes determining responsibility extremely difficult. The debate continues today.
As more investigations emerged, additional details about the attack became public. Some reports claim the car was struck by hundreds of bullets.
Analysts studied the positions of armored vehicles, the timing of calls, and the routes used by paramedics. Different narratives continued to compete.
Narratives competed online and in media coverage. Supporters of Israel questioned some conclusions, while Palestinian organizations argued the evidence.
They argued the evidence overwhelmingly pointed toward direct military involvement. Regardless of position, the image remained emotionally devastating.
Unlike statistics that often dominate war coverage, her story had a voice. People heard the fear directly. They heard her plea. Over time, Hind Rajab became one of the defining civilian stories associated with the Gaza war. Her name appeared in speeches.
Her name was in speeches, social media campaigns, and university occupations. For supporters, she symbolized innocence lost in war.
For others, her story represented the dangers of misinformation, propaganda, and conflicting narratives. Yet the emotional impact remained undeniable. Today, the death of Hind Rajab continues to be discussed in documentaries, legal debates, and investigative journalism. Questions remain unresolved. Questions about accountability remain unresolved. Human rights groups continue demanding independent investigations. Her family's grief continues.
The recordings of her final moments still circulate online, reminding the world of the human cost of war.
In conflict, numbers often become so large that individual lives disappear. But sometimes, one voice breaks through the noise. One story forces the world to stop and listen. For millions, Hind Rajab became that voice. A frightened child asking for help, and a world listening too late. What do you think about Hind's story? Let us know in the comments.